Sit here, sit here. Hi, Timothy. Hola, ¿cómo andamos? So, how's everybody doing? Hola, Ralph. Ralph gave a really beautiful interview, I think, because, you know, one of the things that we would do in the moment when we would start doing these interviews is that it was really all about creating a real sense of intimacy. And you have to be prepared to give of yourself. The way this works is that when Ralph is sitting down in the background, what he's looking at is a camera, but in the camera he's seeing a close-up of my face. So I'm really like in your face, right? And, but it was all about that connection between yourself and that person, looking literally into their eyes. And in particular, I remember that Ralph was very emotional, right?
Yeah.
Which, you know, I mean, Ralph is a very important and influential CEO in the United States. He's a very powerful man. And yet, to allow yourself to go into those memories of, you know, I'll never forget that what you said. Only the boy can go. So Ralph, tell me a little bit what it was like for you to be in the situation of being interviewed like this, which was really something new and different for you.
First of all, I was humbled to just be even considered to be on the list. So for me, I never expected it, and I was quite humbled to be in the presence of professionals like you and Tim and Tommy. And so when I got there, I wasn't sure what to expect other than you were very disarming. And so she would ask her a question, and I would be giving her a terse answer, and she would say, "Tell me more." What can you do then? You have to tell her more. And I did. And it was that disarming part where it wasn't a cliche. It was really coming from the heart, I think was the key part for me. But you realize watching Latino List 1 and now Latino List 2, that it probably, if we didn't tell you, you probably wouldn't know that there was a person doing the interviews, and there was a person drawing that insight out of you, that emotional, that heartfelt comment that would have been difficult had it not been for Maria's questioning and the great work of Timothy and Tommy to capture it on film.
We had fun. Nely, you've produced, I mean, you're a media mogul. Estamos en la presencia de una media mogul latina. So tell me what it's like to see this kind of media on a network like HBO. I mean, we were asked out there when we were all on the red carpet, what does it mean to be doing this kind of work, in particular, in the United States of America in the year 2012? What does it mean to be doing this kind of work?
Well, first of all, this is a full circle moment for me, because when I talked about not making money for 4 years, the truth is the first piece of business I got was from HBO. I think this is very important, because as much as we have done in the media, and I'm very glad, because, you know, one of the things people don't realize is you do a very long interview with each of us that gets cut down. And it's interesting, like for instance in mine, that the focus of the editing was on entrepreneurship. And I'm really happy about that, because I think that is the core of my soul. And I think for a lot of people out there, what I've noticed is the feedback we've gotten is each person focuses on what heals to them. And for a lot of Latinas out there that right now are the #1 entrepreneurs in America, to see that it's so hard and that most of us give up before you hit the Holy Grail. And for me, I almost gave up too. So to me, even though I've been in television for so many years and I've done so many shows, it's been very hard to do this kind of quality of show where our children can see people that they can relate to. You know, my little son in Los Angeles saw the movie, he got up and he goes, "You know, I didn't know all these people existed. You know, our kids don't have role models. They don't see enough of this." And how strange that my first piece of business was HBO, and HBO is doing this film.
There is that, I mean, I totally got that sentiment, again, with Volume 2, because you don't, you know, Victor Cruz, when are you going to hear Victor Cruz speaking in Spanish at the same time when he's finishing a sentence in English? It's like perfect, but there is an element of getting to know people. Raúl Izaguirre, who actually knows what Raúl Izaguirre looks like, unless you're involved, like the executive producers, you know, intimately involved in Latino politics. Are you going to know who is Janet Murguía is? There is a beauty of giving space to the myriad of number of Latinos who are out there doing this work. So, Ingrid and Catherine, executive producers, when you see Volume 2, what is it that you want? I mean, Volume 1, Sonia Sotomayor, big success. Volume 2, what's the overarching message that you want to send with this piece?
You know, it was interesting because Volume 1 was heavily celebrity dominated. And I think with Volume 2, we got a sense of more authenticity and a more kind of a sense of real people. And people who, you know, the audience and whoever's watching it on HBO can resonate and can see themselves, and they can strive to be the Ralph de la Vegas or the Nely Galans, or the next, you know, in Volume 1, Sonia Sotomayor. We really did try and make sure that we were representing the breadth and depth of the Latino community.
And the only thing I will add is that it was also really important for us to also show our history within the Latino community. You know, the work that Raúl did, the work that Dolores has done. I mean, we wouldn't be here for a lot of their good work, their fighting, their strength, their perseverance. So that was just another element that we tried to capture as well.
I'm so glad you brought up Dolores Huerta, because honestly, hearing that story about her, our leader, Dolores Huerta, carrying any sentimiento of guilt because she didn't intervene in a moment with Robert F. Kennedy, is like, oh my God, that we would have someone who is compañera to all of us, who carries that. I mean, she's a historical character. Timothy, what stood out for you this time, in this round?
Yeah, I think George Lopez, because the minute you come to the screen, everyone wants to laugh, and then he gets very serious, and you see a side of him that you don't expect, that you don't think about. There's this very complex man, and I found him extraordinary. I was so impressed with him. And then, of course, that great line, he ad-libbed that the Hunger Games, he was completely ad-libbed, and you could see him sort of doing it, and it was magical, you know, it was just amazing. But I think he was one that surprised me. I expected someone to be really funny all the time.
No, and I think that it's great to see him. I remember, because I had never met George Lopez, so I've got his face right here, and I'm like, I remember just saying, you've got such a great smile. And that's when he was like, I got a smile, and I got a this, and I got a that, and I'm all of these things, and I'm so proud of being Native American. I mean, again, it is a chance to put this different sentimiento about who we are on screen.
He was also very excited to be in this film, and that surprised me and delighted me in a sense. I mean, he had seen Volume 1, he had seen the Blacklist series, he knew what we were doing. It meant something to him, and he just followed up and said, you know, I can't wait to see it, I'm really excited.
So, Tommy, we made a real effort to delve into issues of race and Afro-Latinos. You are costarricense yourself. So tell me what stood out for you in terms of the discussion of race. I mean, I'll tell you one thing that stood out for me. There were a number of people who were interviewed here who referred back to African Americans in some way, whether it was Richard Pryor or Giselle did it, everyone. So tell me a little bit about it from your perspective.
You know, I think that when you look at the issue of race, and we have to look at, as an example, our first film, where we really had an intensive effort to have more Afro-Latinos in the film, and we did not. And the New York community let us know. Make no mistake about it. And But they were right. It was a very important piece because the experience really is that diverse. And growing up myself, my mother is Afro-Latina, and growing up in Washington, D.C., experiencing race as a young black man in the 70s, the 60s, and then having to also come to grips with the fact that I also had a Latino background as well, was not always easy. And so I think the experience is very important. I think as we look at the issues that Latinos are faced with in America today, a lot of it has to do with some of the very same things that blacks went through throughout the entire history of this country. And so I think that level of understanding comes through in the film. And I think that's why you hear so many people talk about the experience and people parallels to it as well.
I would love to hear if the audience has, can we lower the, or raise the, or do something to the lights? Great, we have a question right here.
I'm Kaya from Trend Magazine. I just first wanted to say how grateful I am to the makers of this film and to everyone who took part in it, just to hear those stories for someone like me who's trying to become a producer and actually make it in the community is just very heartfelt. And I've always been told as a Latina, Puerto Rican, and also Jewish, how lucky I am that I'm fair-skinned and that I can come out of the shower and my hair still looks like this, and that I can pass for someone who's white. Because as a Latino in this industry of media and so many other industries, that you get stopped at the door and people just look at you like, you know, you're raised in this certain community, especially as a New Yorican, and they look at you a certain way. And to see this and to see all of you and how you were able to succeed, and that doesn't seem like it was the biggest hurdle in your career. I would just love to know for all of you what that was like being a Latino, and if at all it was a hurdle, and how you could recommend to someone like me maybe how to deal with things like that, because it does stop us sometimes from even trying to get into, you know, say an HBO as opposed to, you know, some other type of thing.
Somebody recently told me something that I'm going to pass on to you because I think we all have the capacity to become this. She called me the queen of never giving up. And that's kind of like what I would like to say in terms of Latinos. In many ways, we have to be the kings and queens of never giving up.
It wasn't a hurdle for me.
He passed all the time.
No, it was, from my point of view, it's an interesting background now because for a long period of time, people wanted to send me as an executive to Latin America because I was Hispanic. And I never really accepted any of those jobs. I told our company that I wanted to succeed here and that I would show them that I could compete with anybody in this country. So they sent me to Florida, to Alabama, to Mississippi, to Louisiana. And after I succeeded there, then I became president of Latin America, but not the other way around. So I didn't want them to view me as a Hispanic executive. I was a great executive that happens to be Hispanic.
I just want to say that I think that for all of you now, it's very different than it was 20 or 30 years ago. And I think we have to be very careful not to get caught up in still feeling like there's obstacles about being a minority, because this year, it was just declared that Latinas in America are the #1 economic emerging market in the world. Many of you know that I'm doing this Adelante movement, going around the country on a tour, because we are sitting on Coke's advisory board. I hear there are more government contracts for Latinas, more diversity contracts at Fortune 500 companies, more small business loans, more desire to put Latinos on the air than ever before, and we are still thinking like, oh, it's not there for us, and we're not grabbing these opportunities. So right now, Iha, get over it, because you're the hot ticket.
I would just add to that. I was raised by 2 Chicano activists in East LA, California, and it was ingrained in me from the time I was a kid. My first words were Chicano power and Viva la raza. But my parents always told me, be proud of who you are. Always represent, but work hard. Because it's your hard work that will get you noticed. Not because you're Latina. It's what you put into it, and that's what's going to get you far.
The message to take away from this series is it's not about victimization, it's about accomplishment. It's about the things that you can do. So we don't dwell in that area, and people that are in the film don't dwell in that area. They dwell in the area of what they have done, not what they haven't been able to do.
So Ingrid and I are a couple, I don't say minority, we embrace it, but we're a couple, and we're women, and we're Latinas. And I guess what I would tell you is to embrace it, because we have embraced it, and we are forging ahead. When we started our business, people said, are you crazy? Yeah. Nobody's going to want to work with you. And we said, you know what? Then we don't want to work with them.
Raise your hand if you have a question. All right? Really? Okay, hi, and then you.
Hey, hi. My name is Ismael Cruz, Cordova. I am a young Latino actor, activist, entrepreneur, and I love saying that without shame, and thanks in part to seeing these examples that you guys put out there, and it's more a thank you and an acknowledgement. Just have been embraced. I have a lot of friends that, like directors, Dominic Colon, who have been in the HBO Latino Film Festival, and we see those role models and those people that I aspire to be, and that are fully supported by HBO. And I just want to thank you guys for that, really, truly.
Anybody else? Okay. I do have to say that for me, one of the moments that stood out was, well, first of all, it was great to interview Judy Reyes, ¿no? Y tener la presencia dominicana presente en the Latino List Volume 2. We're married to a Dominican man, therefore our kids are Dominimex. Seeing Dolores Huerta exchanging a moment with George Lopez was pretty wonderful. And one of my favorite moments that didn't make it into the film because you can't do it all, and it's true, it's about an hour interview with every character. But Dolores, after she was in the middle of the interview, she just said, and let me just make it clear, okay? It was me who created Si Se Puede. It was her, and como que por mucho tiempo ella se lo tragaba, no lo decía, y ahora ella lo está, it was me. And I think that on behalf of executive producers, of Ingrid and Catherine, the choice to bring Dolores Huerta, who is again not a public face, she's not she's not J-Lo, but here she is at 82 years old, and she's still going strong. She had 11 kids, I think. She is truly an American hero, and really thank you to Timothy for giving her and everyone in the film voice, which is what it's about. It's a powerful time for Latinos. I think when we started doing this film, some of this was actually recorded right when SB 1070 was first signed by Governor Jan Brewer. Raúl Izaguirre, who honorably spoke to us, although he is battling Parkinson's. And Henry Cisneros spoke to us in that week when SB 1070 had been signed. And so starting the film with Giselle, talking about her adopted daughter, and the fact that SB 1070 isn't, what's happening in Arizona isn't just about people who don't have papers. It's about all of us. It's about all of us. So thank you to Timothy and to the executive producers, to Tommy, to Ralph, to Nely for sharing their stories, to HBO for having us here, to el Museo del Barrio por la fiesta que viene, y por la invitación, and to all of you for consuming this media and then letting your voice be heard. All of you should be sending your thoughts to HBO. and also to PBS because my television pilot just ran like half an hour ago.
And thank you, Maria, and to Sandra, who actually should be around us. For your incredible work of drawing out such amazing stories for all of these.
You know what's beautiful though is that it's all of us. There's a thought that I'm using now that we as Latinos need to think about. It's the narrative. You know, it's the anti-Lou Dobbs narrative. Y nosotros tenemos que cambiar esa narrativa, and all of this work creates the basis for that, for saying who we are as Latinos, and it's our stories.
Sorry, that it's also sharing with our children or the people in our community that are heroes. Because I think African Americans have done that very well. They know who their history is. And I think in our own countries of origin, we knew what our history was. And we come here, and you know, I've asked a lot of young Latinos who's Dolores Huerta, and they don't know. So it's important, you know, to go and show this to our children and talk to our children. There's a lot of little biographies out there about Henry Cisneros and Dolores Huerta and Cesar Chavez, and our kids need to be exposed to all of these people.
Thank you so much, everyone.